Hello and welcome to another edition of Hurricane Spotlight. I'm Bruce Howard, and in the spotlight is none other than the new men's head basketball coach at the University of Tulsa, Frank Haith. And Frank, it's been a couple of months now on the job, and how has the university community and the Tulsa community embraced you?
Well, it's been great, Bruce. I tell you, it's been nonstop. When you take over a job, there's so much that you have to do, and it starts with the recruiting. Recruiting is a big word. You've got to recruit your players that you have on your program. You got to recruit a fan base. You got to recruit future prospective student athletes. And we've been doing a lot of recruiting, but it's been awesome. The community here has been embraced me and my coaching staff, and the university has been awesome. Dr. Gregg and Dr. Upham, those guys have been tremendous in their support and the vision they have, the vision we have, and what we would like to see Tulsa basketball look like. It's been unbelievable.
And of course, when you take a job, you always have to hit the ground running, don't you? In many different directions, right?
Yeah, you do. And there's still some personal things you got to get done. You got to get your family here, and you got to get settled in terms of your housing situation, and all those things are involved with what you got to do with the job. And so it's been hectic. And we had to recruit a staff. We had to get our staff here, get those guys in place. And I think we've done a really good job with that. And it's all part of it, but once everything gets settled, you feel real good about what you've done.
Coach, a few years ago, you might not have been able to, get the team in a team practice setting. Mm-hmm. Now the rules have changed. You get a chance to really do actual practices in the summer. You've been able to do that a couple of times now. And a little impression from you, just in the couple of times you've had a chance to be out on the court with the guys.
It's been really good, Bruce. You get 2 hours a week. And what we've done here to get more days with our guys, we only do like a 40-minute segment, and it's quick. It's you kind of you're in there, and we attack it with some skill development stuff, and then we kind of implement our system a little bit so they can get a taste of it. We have some competitive stuff we do. We will eventually in July go to just 2 times a week with an hour, so our workouts will be extended a little bit. But it's been really good. I think it's great. The NCAA to do this is really helps coaches, but particularly us. We've been new, we get to know our guys. But it's a great thing. I think continue to be in touch with your players.
What have you learned about them in just this brief time?
Well, I think we've got a good team. I think we've got a team that's together. We've got, when I say good team, we've got good talent. Where that lies with us making the jump to the AAC, time will tell. But I do like the attitudes of our guys. I like their focus, and they've been great. In terms of, we call it the grind. You get better in the summertime, and I think those guys have had great focus in what we're trying to get accomplished.
And Coach, you've mentioned this many times, the lifeblood of the program is recruiting. The lifeblood of your recruiting is you, of course, and your coaching staff and the players you bring in. Let's go through that now, because we've joked about the experience that you bring in, but what I've seen so far is a real nice mix of different characters, so to speak, in your coaching staff. It looks like a good blend for you.
It is. We have a lot of experience, but I think our personalities are a little different. Coach Felton, I think, is a very, I want to say be polite when I say this, but he's very meticulous, and he's extremely organized. That's his strength, and that's great. Dave is, he's like the guy that sees the big picture. He takes time, and he doesn't jump the gun. So he's one of those guys. And Tommy is just his motor's running. He's a grinder in terms of recruiting. He's massive. He needs numbers. He's calling a lot of guys. He's getting information. I think, with that said, those guys work well together. They play off one another, and I'm very pleased with our ability to bring a staff of such together here at Tulsa. You talk about over 90 years of experience, those 3 guys, and you add my 30, it's 120 years. So there's a lot of experience within the Tulsa basketball office.
And then the other guy that sometimes doesn't get mentioned a whole lot that you brought from Missouri is Todor Pandoff, who is your strength and conditioning coach, and sometimes in the summer he sees more of the guys than you do, right?
He does. He will see more of the guys. He has more hours to work with them. Of the 8 hours, he gets 6, we only get 2. Their time is spent with him quite a bit. And with Tudor, he's the best in the country. I really believe that. He was with me at Miami and also at Missouri. Now here, great staff. Probably the most important guy on our staff is Tudor Pandolf, because he does spend the time with them, and their development is extremely important this time of the year. And he's a big part of that. And our training is unique. It's different. It's functional training. It's core development. It's not just lifting weights. Sitting on your back. For example, you're not sitting on your back playing basketball. Our training is individualized based on what we do on the basketball court.
I was going to say, he's a former player,
Right.
so obviously that training is sport specific, right?
Absolutely, and you'll see even a guy like Big E, who's not practicing yet with us. His training with Tudor on the sideline. It's all with the medicine ball and basketball movements, sports specific, and his body is starting to take shape already. I think a lot of our guys will see their bodies change over these next 2 months while they're here in summer school.
Hey, I forgot one assistant coach, maybe the most important one, and that's your wife, Pam. She's your rock at home, isn't she?
She is, and I don't know where I would be without her. Throughout my whole career, we're college sweethearts, and she's been with me every step of the way, and all the peaks and the valleys, the good times and the tough times, and she's always been there. And every coach, you have to have that person with you that supports you, and my family, and my daughter, my son, they're always going to be there for you, regardless of you win or lose, and that's important.
Yeah, talking about Corey and Brianna, your two kids. Corey hopefully will be playing, right? I mean, he's on his way to getting over here and playing,
Yeah,
correct?
he's still rehabbing a little bit. He had an ACL injury back in Columbia, and hopefully he'll be here second session of summer school, and that's the plan. And Brianna, we're getting her settled with her plans. I mean, she's got her own little world she's dealing with, and with her dancing and everything. And her summers are about as hectic as mine out recruiting. She's out performing all summer and going to Vegas and Georgia and New York. But they're both will be here but for sure at the end of August.
Well, Coach, speaking of family, you were one of 10 kids. That's a first team and a second team. You could have a pickup game. But honestly, did it kind of teach you a little bit early in your life about team ball?
It taught you about team. Yeah. There's no question. Sharing was a big part of that, and then you kind of where I fell in terms. I was right in the middle, so I had older brothers and sisters, and I had some younger ones. And once we moved to North Carolina, when I was 5 years old, I became one of the older ones. Mm-hmm. And so I became the guy that was the father figure once we moved to North Carolina. And from a leadership standpoint, I think my grandmother raised us, and I was the male figure in our family as I got older. And my younger brothers and sisters all will tell you that they looked up to me, and I also have to pay for a lot of things right now too. But no, it was a great experience, and what lured me to coaching was my childhood, and because I moved down south to raise my grandmother, my coaches were my father figures, and I wanted to have that same kind of impact on young people that was bestowed on me at a young age, and so there was a lot of growth during my childhood that really propelled me to do what I'm doing today.
And when you moved to Elon, North Carolina, your grandmother, Ethel May, tell us about her. I know she was not terribly tall, but boy, was she powerful, huh? Extremely
powerful. And what happened to us at that time, she probably would have got locked up for. Whippings. People, when I say that word, older folks would understand that.
Yeah.
But she had a strong arm. It was all about academics. It was all about going to school. She didn't want me to play sports early, didn't allow me to, and then finally she gave in. But she had a strong arm, and I had so much respect for her. My foundation, who I am today, it all started with my grandmother. And all of my brothers and sisters, my younger brothers, they all will tell you that she propelled us to do the right things. She was always on us about getting our schoolwork done and getting it on time. And she only went to 4th grade. Mm-hmm. So it was amazing, her foresight and the community we grew up in for her to have that kind of strong arm with us and steer us the right way.
Well, I know when you were at Elon, it wasn't easy. You had to work many, many jobs just to get through. I hear about cutting lawns and working at a cotton mill and many other things. Did that give you a work ethic? And part of it was survival, I'm sure, but did that give you a work ethic?
It did. I tell my kids, I don't go to my story a lot with my guys, but I talk to them about me paying for my education, and them having the honor of their education to be paid for is a tremendous honor, and you need to give back based on what's been given to you, and they have an obligation. I pay for my schooling, by any means necessary. I went out and, I tell people about the story. I lived in a gym. I literally lived in a gym. I had a closet that I lived in, and my job was to make sure the gym was locked and closed, and make sure the lights were turned off. And I did a lot of things to help pay for my education because I was determined, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get a degree, and I wanted to coach, and I knew that at a very young age. I went to school knowing what I wanted to do. I was very determined, and there's no question that I think all the things that I went through as a young age propelled me to have the work ethic. And I had a coach tell me, once I got into business, and that, in order to move in this business, you had to have some characteristics, and what was going to be your selling point. And for me, people going to know about Frank Haith was my work ethic, and that I didn't have the name. I grew up in North Carolina. There was great basketball, great players that played the game, like a Buzz Peterson who coached here. I came along the same lines of Buzz, Matt Doherty, and all those guys, and they all became coaches.
Yeah.
Jay Bellis, they all became coaches. We were all at the same time, but they had great names. They played in the ACC. And the only thing I had was a work ethic, and that was my whole thing to propel me, was to be a hard worker.
So living in a janitor's closet for a part of a semester or a year or whatever it was at Elon, does that, and obviously the great success you have, does that still keep you grounded though, to know where you came from?
Oh, no question, and I'll never forget. I just recently went back and donated funds to build a park in a community I grew up in, a basketball court and an outdoor park. And I'll never forget where I've come from, and I think that what we went through, and the people that supported me. The athletic director at Elon at the time was a guy by the name of Dr. Alan White, who was also my Little League coach, and he's since retired. But Kyle Wills, the associate athletic director, is still there, and he lived in that closet before too. So we have some great stories. He actually graduated from the closet, then I moved in, and but I have some fond memories, but I always go back, and I always have great respect and appreciation for those folks and the university.
As an assistant coach, you obviously were mentored by a lot of great coaches. Rick Barnes is one that really comes to mind. So I assume that there's a little Rick Barnes in you. But who were your other mentors?
Rick, obviously, the guy that I'm still very close with Rick, and he's one of my best friends, and not just in the business, but just one of my best friends. Dave Odom, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. I worked 5 years for Dave at Wake Forest, and watching him turn that program around when we took over at Wake Forest in 1989, and what he did there, he taught me so much about the game and the recruiting, and he is so reserved in how he does things. Tony Baroni, who I worked for at Texas A&M, was a tremendous teacher and had so much passion in the way he coached the game. Kevin Eastman, who's just named Vice President of Operations with the Clippers, I worked for him at UNC Wilmington, who I think is a great mentor. Is always one of my favorites. Just a hard worker. But there's other guys that have had influence on my life in the profession. But those guys I work for directly, I think there's a little bit of all those guys in me in the way I coach the game.
And of course, you've been to big places and little places, the UMC Wilmingtons, the Elons. Wake Forest is a small school, obviously, but then Texas A&M and Texas and big schools like Missouri. Does that kind of help you get a broad range of what it means to be in collegiate athletics?
It does. I mean, I can talk about perspective of being at both those schools, both types of schools, the large state institutions, and then you mentioned the small private schools, which I went to at Elon. I coached at a University of Miami, a small private school, Tulsa, Wake Forest, and I think it does give you perspective in terms of the differences, but there's some good in both types of situations. I know what I'm comfortable with and what I like, and I'm really excited about being a part of the private school sector again, and what it does in terms of, from a recruiting standpoint, what we can sell, the small class sizes, the family feel, the family atmosphere. You have that at a Tulsa, at a Wake Forest, at a Miami.
And back to the court again, I know your style is up-tempo. You want to go. I mean, one of the words I heard you say a lot in the early practices is go. Just get it up and down the court, right?
We want FGAs. It's usually, if you look at getting more FGAs in your opponents, it means you're not turning the ball over, but you're going to have more success than not. And we want to get FGAs, and that's how we want to play. And I'm a big component of the change the shot clock to 30 seconds, and I think that will happen eventually. We're going to experiment with that a little bit, I think, if it all works out this year. It's organized chaos. It's not, I don't like, bad shots. I want ball movement. I think the Spurs, we all in the college game can learn what the Spurs did in the playoffs. And they played the game the ultimate way, the team basketball, sharing the ball, player movement, ball movement. That's what we want to see. But in attack mode always, but with the idea of sharing, good shot, great shot. Those are the kinds of things we want our guys to understand.
Well, Coach, we're delighted you are here, and thank you for taking the time here on Hurricane Spotlight, and I know we'll do it again.
Thank you, Bruce.
Head Coach Frank Haith on Hurricane Spotlight.